December 2018, I discovered several shelves filled with tiny shoes at Second Mile Thrift Shop in Grinnell.
A week later, during our family vacation, an afternoon visit to the Mosaic House in Venice, California set Karen's mind spinning.
Very soon, I was sorting shoes by color.
And I was cutting them in half with a diamond Dremel.
An empty cement wall became my canvas.
"200 shoes and several tubs of grout later, here is the finished product. A 3 by 14-foot mosaic of shoes in downtown Grinnell. You can visit the project at the Grinnell Area Arts Council's new creative makers lab space called The Stew."
The project was featured in the Grinnell Herald Register, and days later, my cell phone rang, and the rest of the story started to unfold. I learned that the shoes were part of a much larger assortment that had belonged to the late Linda Jones, a longtime resident of Grinnell and former registrar at the college.
Linda loved hunting for new pieces. Her search took her throughout the U.S. and Canada, as well as to Europe, Asia, and Australia. Most of the collection was beautifully displayed in glass cases throughout their home, and Linda's partner, Dean, graciously invited Karen and me over to take a look.
Neither John or I had any familiarity with or interest in miniature shoes prior to this encounter, but it is perhaps analogous to sliding into a comfortable pair of shoes, because the more time that we spent with the collection, the more we came to share Linda's passion for it.
In December, we participated in Drake Public Library's Festival of Trees, and Santa greeted local children sitting next to 3 trees that were decked out with Linda's shoe-themed ornaments. This spring, we had planned an exhibit at the Arts Council Gallery entitled Her Shoes. Children from the after-school arts program working with Alicia Lucina had also prepared complimentary shoe-themed art. Unfortunately, the event was canceled, but we decided to share the collection by video instead. We hope you'll enjoy it. As Fred Astaire said, "When there's a shine on your shoes, there's a melody in your heart."
I'm going to start talking about some of our utilitarian shoes from the collection. I'll start with our magnets. You can see here there's a number of magnets connected, one from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. These are pretty fun and from different places. I'll introduce you to this hilarious little package, which is rawhide dog shoes that are shaped like a shoe. We have our shoe fly swatter. That'll work right there. Our salt and pepper shakers, voila. We've actually introduced this into our kitchen as a regular thing. Flip-flop styled little paper pad there. These are all pencil sharpeners right here. You can see the little pencil sharpener piece inside each one of these. Those are all pencil sharpeners, and there's a whole bunch of those, of course. Here's a little wine stop screw opener. These 3 are all little desk set pieces with a pen and a paper clip, a pen, a paper clip, pen, paper clip. So those are pretty fun. I think I will next maybe come up here to the pieces up here. There's a shoe bank There's a shoe telephone. These are tape dispensers. There were several of the tape dispensers in the collection. A thermometer to hang outside. Of course, a cake serving utensil shaped very much like a shoe. A little bit of a perfume bottle, so I can, yes. A shoe brush, I assume for cleaning. There's actually several of those in our ceramics collection as well. This is a little razor for a nice clean shave, a clip. These are both for the sink. Little stoppers with shoes on them for the sink. This is a pretty fun little toy. I don't know if I can get it to work here. You can see him walking. These are all little clocks, little keychain clock, little decorative pieces. There's a luggage tag holder that you can take on your trip, a candle. These are all little photo clip holders, of course, to set on your desk. All three of these are purses, little purses. There's actually some really fancy purses that we'll show you in another section as well. But these are all little leather souvenirs. Here's some shoe horns. This is a pretty fancy little shoe horn. And this is also, of course, a shoe horn, but a little bit larger, so that's a good one to use. These are candle holders for your dinner table. Ring holders. There's probably 30 different ring holders in the collection. And of course I have, to wrap this up, a couple bottle openers so that we can see if I can make it work. I can't. I'm going to introduce you to some of our stone shoes and some of our miniatures in this little section. I'll start up here with these from Pipestone, Minnesota. Pipestone is a little reddish stone quarried up in central Minnesota. I loved finding these because we used to visit Pipestone when I was a little girl and collect pipestone. It's very iron rich. You can see the little kind of a little Dutch shoe there. These are also probably from that region. They're very kind of a lighter reddish clay. It's probably an ashtray there with both of those have that. Down here, you know, this one is from Pamunkey Indian Reservation in Virginia, but look at how it's all painted and lovely. And there's a whole bunch of these kind of cute little Native American looking moccasin-y things. These are all also stone. This one's especially unique, I think. It's sort of a white sandstone maybe, but has sort of a Eastern look in terms of the shape of the shoe. This is a pipe. You can see the hole coming through there. These are also stone with tons of detail carved into the stone. These are a little heavier, so I think they're also made out of stone. They're sort of a old-fashioned boot, and I put them here because I thought it was fun to connect them with these boot or button hooks that we found, which would have been used, of course, to help button shoes or dresses. These are used as giveaways from shoe vendors. This one actually says Liberty Shoes, made from different products. I think this one's bakelite, and then wood and metal. There's a number of the antique button hooks. Here's a shoe horn with a little step shoe on the end. Another bottle opener, lots of letter openers. There's a number of letter openers that are in the metal collection. This is a pencil sharpener. You can see the sharpener right there. Very cute. I love this one. This is kind of like little shells all glued onto this perfect little box that opens. It's a very definitely handmade little cardboard there. Very delicate piece. These are a little bit more like a Colorado stone quartz kind of collection. These say Estes Park on them. This one has a pencil holder. This is actually probably like stone set in an epoxy. It reminds me of tourist days in Colorado. Now I'll head over here to the miniatures. The miniatures are so fun. I'll try to get them a little bit closer for you here so that you can look into these. Look at these, have little laces on them. These are kind of leather and plastic. Some of these are costume made out of the resin again, but all these tiny little miniatures. These are just lovely. You can see they have all sorts of detail. There's little pieces. Some of them have tourist designations on them if they're from a specific place. Whoops, there's all sorts of good ones there. Little kitty and the toes. Gives you a good piece of some of those. Here's a little Precious Moments. Remember Hallmark used to sell the Precious Moments pieces and boots. Then we can look over here at some of these miniatures. These are also super special. You can see some of this one's actually made from a shape that you'll see later when we're doing the larger ceramics as well, that was built in terms of a frame that started to be used in Europe, and then the mold was actually sold to US vendors and remade in the context of sort of being a marketing tool. These are all little, look at these little itty bitty shoes. Little one with a wood heel. You can see all these itty bitty shoes. All of these. Come on, there's some little tulip Dutch shoes. These are made out of wood. There's an ice skate. Wood shoes. You can get the idea of the little clogs. This whole thing is full of them. I love the Birkenstocks too. The Birkenstocks, of course, come in little boxes. There's about 30 of the Birkenstock collections, different shapes and sizes of Birks. And finally, from the miniatures, these are all glass. This is a composite of some of the ones that I liked the best. Look at that blown glass with the heel. A ton of color in that. These are also blown glass, but they also have painted and some glitter put into them. These are pretty fragile little pieces. Little glass slipper there for Cinderella. You can tell this is like a perfume bottle with a cork, and this one would have had a cork as well. You'll see in the rest of our glass collection, there's a lot of larger versions of those with the perfume bottles. But those are just quite sweet little blown glass pieces.
Okay, so I'm doing the fun and fabulous, what we call costume shoes here. We've got hundreds and hundreds of these. Most of them that you see here, of all shapes and sizes, are from a company called Just the Right Shoe, and it was by this designer, Rain, who designed these shoes, and then there would always also be guest designers. You'd sign up for a Shoe of the Month club, basically. So you'd get all of this, you'd get the name of the shoe, you get their catalog. See, we have this one right there. Reminds me of Germany, the colors of the German flag. I don't know if that's intended. That's my reference. You can sign up or sign up a friend, and then you would get to open up this month's shoe, which in this case is a kind of a shallow pump that's bejeweled. These are all made out of resin, and so they're pretty tough. They're easy to mass produce, and you hardly ever see any of these having fallen off or anything like that, so they're made quite well. Here we have the boots. So lots of high boots, cowboy boots mostly, but also those of the sexier variety, I suppose. There were all kinds of clogs, platform shoes, lots of detail, as you can see on something like this, with beads and sequins. Again, none of those have seemed to have fallen off, so very well made. This is actually a display unit that's sold by the company to display their shoes. We actually tricked it out and made it even more spectacular by doing gold. More of the platform shoes here. I really like the detail on this one as well. Kind of a patchwork, boho kind of a thing. This is a disco one. I thought it was more of a clown shoe, but they have the names on the back, which you'll see. That one is called Disco Diva, if you could read that. So they're all named and they have catalog numbers. Here's some more practical shoes. So this, for example, actual tap shoes. So you can do that. We have moccasins. We have on point roller skates. And this one in particular, the ski boots, the platform sneakers, and of course the most boring one, a loafer. These are themed, sort of nature themed ones that she did. That was a series, of course, that they would do. So rainforest series. This is a monarch butterfly one. You can get down in here into the very sexy, high, pumpy shoes. Those seem to have been favorites. Again, with different themes. You have your camo, your leopard print, your heartbreaker. All of these have names. Now we'll get out of the rain and get into Willow Hall, which is another brand. These were Zodiac themed shoes, of course. And again, pretty well made of resin, bejeweled. Pretty fantastic. This one is mine. It's Taurus the Bull in May, of course. So, and then here we have, again, these are just a couple of the flip-flops that we have here. Willow Hall also did Flowers of the Month. So you have February lilac. Again, that's my month of May, my birthday, lilacs. And we have the rose or the tulip in April. And finally, the fun ones here. These are, again, Willow Hall. They're pretty good at branding everything, so you can see the logo inside of those. These are called the Shoo Shoo series. Maybe to buy for kids' bedrooms or something like that. They're, of course, pretty fun and sort of cartoonish. Again, a lot of detail, feathers, pipe cleaners, tiny little things like this bird that's sitting on top of the hippo's mouth, the reindeer that actually has little earrings that are Christmas ornaments, glasses on the lion, everything.
So this is some of the collection that is made out of metal, and a huge variety, but I think one of the most interesting is these that are molds. So the molds that were made, and we actually have some of the shoes that were made from molds this shape, but a lot of the molds were sold from Europe to the US from Europe and then used to repurpose or reframe and make localized versions. But there's also, I don't know exactly how that works, but this one is a mold as well, of course, and then a sort of a mint looking mold. But these are all made out of, these are all super heavy, doorstop heavy. A couple of them have color in them. These are kind of like cloisonné ballet slippers. Look at the detail there. There's several of that version. The heel here is also the cloisonné. But these are super, super heavy. This is, I don't know if that's, I don't know what that is, but it's definitely a paperweight version. This one, I think. Yeah. At the front of the table, there's some men's shoes made out of plastic. And I actually started thinking I would throw those away, and then I looked around a little bit and learned that they actually have some value to them. So they're pretty fascinating with their little boxes. And of course, some Crocs here. This is a shoehorn as well. But these are all men's shoes in this category here, made from different kinds of, there's some wood, ceramic, some slippers. I love those. These are gorgeous. Look at these metal slippers. Lots of detail in there. I shined those up with some silver polish. Some of the slippers that have the stepped over heel actually increases their value, interestingly enough. Okay, I'm going to pull out some of the softer shoes that are more like made of fabric and beads. Look at these fancy things. They're like literally leather soled shoes with glitter, and I'm just going to put these out here one at a time to show you. Look at these, all detailed, soft. I mean, they have a hard infrastructure, but they are fabric and beads. Both sewn and glued on the top. You can see real close there's like lace embellishment on these guys. These are a little softer, that have a little bit of layer. Look at that one with the feathers on there. Here's a soft shoe. These are both more textured, and this guy has little mirrors glued. It's like a mosaic. Absolutely gorgeous. Here's another one of these that kind of fits into this theme. Here's some more with the lace embellishment. Now these those are totally soft fabrics. They could be probably hung on a tree as a decoration, but they're not exactly a Christmas tree decoration either. There's one that's soft, and that of course is a pin cushion. I'm going to pull out now some lace pieces one at a time. You know, my mom used to do crocheting and things, and then you'd starch it so that it was stiff, but that has been starched and stiff. This one's actually pulled over like over a wet wire base. This one has been starched, crocheted, and then starched. That boot has been crocheted and starched. I don't know if it probably isn't going to stand up. Here's a little fancy one that probably belongs over there with the baubles hanging from it. Here's a couple pretty fancy little fabric pieces. They're stiff, but they're made out of fabric. These remind me of Tanner Alger. There we go. We've got some high tops. All Stars. This one's just leather. That's just fantastic. I could. Here's pin cushions. This one's actually made of paper cards cut out with little holes. That's straight out of my grandma Jacobson's. I can imagine her making those. There's a leather one. That actually has a zipper. That's a little coin purse from Jamaica, I suppose. This is also soft, but it's boots. It's those Uggs. There's a leather boot. There's another leather boot. Here's a little golf shoe from Hawaii, of course. This one's actually knitted, not crocheted. I think that's knitted. Let's see, these guys are made out of fabric, and those are actually little pin cushions. They're fabric over paper. You can tell they're quite light. This one's crocheted little booty. Oh, there's a whole bunch of those actually. Okay. And put another one of those into that bead. Here's some pin cushions. These are kind of fun. Little bright colored pin cushions. And a lace bootie. This one's made out of basically paper metal, or like little like tin foil maybe, I guess is what that is. There's a leather boot with a pom-pom on the toe. Now here's some that maybe could have belonged in a different set. We have a whole set about smoking. These are matches. This one is also a matchbook holder. There's a thermometer. There's a little boot with some colored pencils. A boot with a salt and pepper shaker and some toothpicks there. Whoops, this one probably goes with that set as well. And I guess there's some, oh, those are kind of fun. Look at those Asian booties. And a pin cushion. So that's part of the soft collection. So I think it's kind of fun to look at all the little boxes first. Every single one of these open in some way or another. All have different ways of these. Sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out how they open or where they open. This one has a little slider lid. Whoops, I just bent it. Have to be very careful. These are really fun. Look at these. And they're actually magnetized, so they come off, and then that one has a magnet to close it. These also little boxes. Ring boxes, this little lid comes off. All of these have, this one looks as the little box is actually on the heel. It does open, I can't get it open right now. This one comes off the top, these all come off. And then these are all salt and pepper shakers. Some Elvis blue suede shoes, here's somebody's knees. Wizard of Oz red slippers, some alligators, oh, salt and pepper shakers.
Which is which? 3 holes, 2 holes? Do you know?
I think salt is always 3 and pepper's always 2 because you want the salt to come out faster.
Well, alright then, man.
going to introduce you to some of the wood pieces in the collection. I think I will start, let's see, right here, look at these cool letter openers. They have tons of detail and like inlaid wood pieces. They're clearly from tourist spots and locations. These are all little wooden shoes that are hand carved and painted. Very sweet. This one is a little fish hook boot. You can see his toes are sticking out. These I don't know, to me these look like they're straight from Hawaii, who knows, but they've got little carvings of scenes in the heels. And there's some little Japanese looking shoes with happy people on the top. This one over here is with dates, you know, it rotates to be a calendar. These say Mexico, so tourist attractions, clearly. This is a whole series, Le Fay. It's a series of more modern shoes, but they all have wooden heels, and there's a whole bunch of different ones, but here I picked 4 of my favorites here that I liked. Some pin cushions here that are made out of wood, including, look at that gorgeous thing. It actually has a little bank hole in it as well. I have no idea what that is, but it's hand carved. Kind of a fancy looking thing. These are carved out of logs. This whole little setup here are all boxes. They all have lids that open, and little stash boxes. You can see every single one of these opens up. So that one has a metal lid. Really intricate hand carved pieces there. It's all shut. Yeah. And actually that's a good transition over here. These are all kind of themed with smoking ashtrays, smokers, the metal smokers ashtrays are all down here. This one actually hides down or comes back up. This one has both an ashtray and a lighter together. And there's some ceramics. These are all also ashtrays. Little glass matchbook holder. These are all lighters. This one's pretty cool. Little boot. And pipes, little pipes. And this one's a little pipe. I'm going to show you some of the larger shoes in the collection. Sort of interesting. I'll pick out a few of my favorites. You can see there's a couple here that are banks. This is clearly a liquid of some sort, but this one is actually like a lotion dispenser. This one's made out of wood and clear bottle. These, I suppose, would hold a candle. Might be from a floral shop of some sort. Very heavy metal. This one is literally full of lentils. Yes, lentils. Light metal could probably be good for earring holders, candle holders, a jar. This one is hilarious. Look at that with the lily and the bees. There's some sort of a garden variety. This is an absolute favorite, doorstop, heavy as can be. I think that one will find a permanent home in our house. A planter for the front porch, some olives. Here's a little sandal. Enjoy the larger versions.
Okay, so we're going to end with some of our favorites from all of the categories. We keep them in this display case in our living room. At the bottom to the left, we have the Serbian Opanacs. Those are traditional shoes that are wood, leather. This one is all wood, but also leather and fabric. There's a pin cushion ornaments. From Japan, we have the Gita, which is a platform sandal. That's traditional, as well as the Pakistani slipper called a juti, with a curled toe and lots of ornate stitching there. We also, of course, have what's called a ruby red slipper. This is kind of a crazy one with a lizard character who's also wearing the red platforms. Betty Boop is very collectible from the 30s, iconic cartoon figure of the snow globes. This is a thimble, which isn't exactly, well, she is sitting on a ruby shoe on the thimble, so that counts. Then back here we have a lot of fabric shoes. This one, of course, is got green suede, as well as a very ostentatious peacock feather. And then finally, there are a few more of the costume shoes that we really liked because of the ornate design. This one is a Willow Hall, and this one, which is one of Karen's favorites from the Just the Right Shoe collection, the Beverly Feldman designer, called Das Boot. So on the fourth row of the cabinet here, we've got metal shoes. These are from Peru. They're made of copper, and they are meant to be hung on the wall. There's a alpaca, so you know that's Peru. These are metal ashtrays of different kinds. These are Pakistani Judis, again, the Punjabi slipper. The cigarette sits in there. Then we have these tiny pin cushions that are also made of metal, and they're, it's an inch long probably. Then we have over here a snuff box, which you can see is a man with a rifle on it. It's quite heavy. And this is an interesting piece from Greece, which is called Tsarouchi. It's a traditional slipper with, this is a a woolen ball on the end of the shoe, which was meant to hide a small blade, apparently. And also on the bottom of the shoe, you'd find tacks in the soles of the shoe that would make noise, so you'd hear someone coming, or maybe dancing or whatever, making some noise. They're used in traditional costumes still in Greece. Then we have the Opanak, which is the Bulgarian version. We saw the Serbian one earlier. So these are the Bulgarian version of that. This is ceramic, but it looks like it's mimicking a leather sandal. And then we have various men's shoes. This one in Spanish says, to the ear, no noise. Something like that. Maybe someone can correct us on that, but it's also an ashtray. Maybe that means no gossiping or something, who knows. Then we have small knives, pen knives here, that are made out of small shoes, and again, that's probably an inch and a half long. And then we have several of these promotional shoes that are from shoe manufacturers. So a salesman would have given one of these to the shoe shop owner, and of course in the 50s they all smoked, so it's also a handy ashtray while you're smoking and selling shoes. And then back there we've got candlestick holders. Golfer, we have a businessman, it looks like, and a woman in a skirt.
We'll start here on the second row of the shelf with some fine china. If you notice, this is really super special because there's lace. Look at the lace. It's actually, I mean, it's not soft lace, it's china lace. My grandmother Klopp had a china store, and when I was little, I was infatuated with the bone china. These are beautiful pieces. Look at that little lid. Every single one of these are just gorgeous, very detailed. These roses coming out of that. This one is actually a wine bottle. Clear. There was a couple of these. There was a red one and a couple of clear ones with, of course, a stopper. But that's quite lovely. And a couple pair of legs. There's a salt and pepper shaker. I don't know if you can see the hole on the knees. And then this, to the left side here, these are all what I would call a Dutch shoe shape, but they are certainly not only from Holland. These say they are from Holland, but this one is from Portugal, from Italy. These have Arabic on the lower sole, so I don't know quite where they're from, but they're definitely not from Holland. This one has some Danish writing on it. This one says it's from Japan. Has the Japanese China stamp on it, and of course the Turkish eye here. So quite unique shapes and sizes. This is the one, my favorite I think on this shelf is this little guy right here. It is made out of metal and has a little scene, people. It's a sailboat. I'm going to go to the third shelf of the cabinet. Many of these are smoking items. We've talked about those a little bit earlier, but these are extra special. Look at those with the carved little wood insets into those on a boot there. This is an ashtray from Jerusalem. Quite lovely. And these are little legs. They're all different, but quite heavy. I'm not actually sure what they're for. This one looks to be maybe a knob or something that could be put onto a cabinet. But, I think this one is quite interesting. This, I'll pull it out. This is a shoe horn made from a horn. You can see the shoe boot at the end of the horn. And this is another knife. This one has Coca-Cola on it. Very good. I love back here to the side of the candle. These are all four of these are little shell. They're quite light. They're plastic and they look to be handmade. They are a gift from Doris from Florida in 1975. I think they're quite charming. And we'll pop over here to the glass. The blue and the orange pieces are both hand-blown glass. These are little glass pitchers. And all of these are little blown glass pieces. Up here there's some Fenton glass again. These are stone. They're actually the same shoe that John talked about earlier with the palm on the toe. And these are Spode, which is a bone china company out of England. I think those are quite lovely. I don't know for sure, but I think these are all quite similar in their style. And I think my two favorites of the entire collection are right here. These are Murano blown glass out of Italy. Look at those, that unique heel. There's two of those pieces right here. There's another That's the third shelf. Okay, this top shelf, these are Chinese porcelain. They're probably antiques. Bound lotus foot shoes with the metal frame and base. This one's actually, of course, for a pipe. But look at these with their copper base. They all have this metal copper base. And this one is a little, these two are a little different. This one has a bigger base and it's more open, but it's the same concept, the bound lotus foot shoes. Let's see, I'll say these three are from Portugal, the blue slippers there. Come real close and look at this little guy right here. These are, I don't know how well you can see them, but tiny bone slippers that have hand etching on them. And these are some slip-ons from Morocco. Also could be hung up on the wall, but those are quite lovely. Have a very unique shape. These little pair here, these are made in Italy, and they are kind of a ceramic, but they're a little bit heavier and definitely a unique look. A little lamp here. Here's a little bit more of the lace and the detail with some miniatures that I liked. These are, the Dresden made a whole series of the slippers with the crushed heels that look quite comfortable, but those are pretty lovely. These, whoops, there we go. This one I'll show you maybe is the final, and that's to be hung on the wall, and it's for hat pins.
Okay, so this is the final shelf, the top of the cabinet here. We've got our parade of German Biersteins. This is close to my heart as I have lived in Germany. You can see they get bigger. They're very similar in shape. They have depictions of stories, maybe different tales, things like that. This one I thought was interesting. You have your German man enjoying his beer, but it's made, if you see that, in West Germany, when there was a West Germany, and that was one time when I lived in Germany as well, so it was kind of interesting. Frankfurt am Main. If you've ever flown through Europe, you've probably flown through Frankfurt. This is quite a large one. We've got a horse, we've got spurs, we've got the hops. Right, this is a beer stein after all, so the hops are depicted. And this one is not a beer stein, it's a leg